On March 8, 2014, a massive Boeing 777 sat on the Kuala Lumpur tarmac. Flight MH370 carried 239 passengers and crew bound for Beijing, China that night. In the cockpit sat veteran Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah alongside young First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid. The weather across the South China Sea was completely calm with clear, starry midnight skies above them. At 41 minutes past midnight, Malaysian air traffic controllers wished the pilots a good flight ahead. The cockpit radioed back their final transmission. Good night, Malaysian 370. Everything seemed normal. As the aircraft reached waypoint Agari over the ocean, it prepared to enter Vietnamese airspace smoothly. Vietnamese controllers waited for MH370 to check in on their radio frequency as scheduled. Seconds later, at precisely 1:21 a.m., the airplane transponder suddenly went completely silent. In an instant, the aircraft vanished from civilian radar screens across the entire Asian continent. There was no distress call, no emergency beacon, and absolutely no warning of any technical failure. Controllers frantically called the cockpit frequency repeatedly, but only static echoed back over the open airwaves. Nearby airline pilots tried relaying emergency messages, reporting only a mysterious mumbling sound before total silence. What happened during those fateful 60 seconds would become the greatest unsolved mystery in aviation history. While civilian controllers panicked, secret military radar systems in Malaysia recorded something truly spine-chilling. The moment civilian communications ceased, MH370 executed an aggressive sharp left turn westbound. The heavy airliner banked steeply back across the Malaysian peninsula, flying completely dark without navigation lights. Someone inside that cockpit had intentionally disabled the transponder to make the airplane invisible to investigators. The plane climbed steeply toward 40,000 feet before suddenly plunging down near terrain level. This radical altitude change suggested whoever was flying wanted to depressurize the passenger cabin quickly. Without supplemental oxygen, passengers and flight attendants would have lost consciousness within mere minutes. Meanwhile, the pilot in the sealed cockpit had access to hours of pressurized bottled oxygen. Military radar tracked a ghost plane speeding over Penang Island, where the captain originally lived. Some investigators believe the pilot dipped the wing to take one final look at his hometown. The aircraft then turned northwest, flying along exact commercial aviation waypoints toward the Andaman Sea. Navigating between established waypoints proved the airplane was being controlled by an experienced professional pilot. As it reached the edge of Malaysian radar coverage, the plane turned south toward nowhere. At 2:22 a.m., military radar lost the aircraft completely over the open ocean. Flight MH370 had successfully escaped all human radar observation, vanishing in that absolute isolation. For days, international rescue teams searched the South China Sea where radar first lost the plane. They found absolutely nothing because the airplane was actually thousands of miles away flying south. And engineers at a British satellite company named Inmarsat discovered a groundbreaking hidden digital clue. These secret automated handshakes, known as pings, occurred once every hour for 6 more hours. This meant MH370 kept flying silently until 8:19 a.m. the next morning. The data proved the aircraft flew straight south into the most remote region on Earth. The plane flew on autopilot for hours across the desolate, freezing southern Indian Ocean expanse. Inside, 239 passengers and crew remained trapped inside a dark, cold tube. As morning sun rose over the Indian Ocean, the airplane finally ran completely out of fuel. The right engine flamed out first, causing the autopilot to disengage and the nose to drop. At 8:19 a.m., the satellite recorded one final chaotic ping as the plane plummeted downward. NH-370 crashed into the Inmarsat satellite discovery, forced investigators to completely rewrite the timeline of the entire disaster. How can a modern commercial airliner vanish so completely in an era of global surveillance? Some intelligence experts suspected the airplane was cyber-hacked through its onboard entertainment network system. Others theorized a sophisticated stowaway in the avionics bay manually cut the communication cables. The northern route crossed heavily militarized nations like India, Pakistan, and China without triggering alarms. This left only the southern corridor, pointing straight into the deadly Roaring Forties ocean currents. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau launched the most expensive undersea search in human history. Specialized sonar submarines mapped over 100,000 square miles of jagged ocean floor mountains. Down at 20,000 feet, the water pressure is immense and perpetual darkness reigns supreme. Despite skating for 2 continuous years, sonar detected only sunken shipwrecks and undersea volcanoes. The main wreckage, the black boxes, and the bodies of the passengers were nowhere found. Critics began questioning if the satellite mathematical calculations had somehow misled the entire global search. The Indian Ocean had swallowed flight MH370, keeping its secrets locked in darkness. With no wreckage found, bizarre theories and shadowy suspects began dominating global investigation reports. Attention immediately focused on the captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah, who had built a home flight simulator. One deleted simulator practice flight showed a route flying deep into the southern Indian Ocean. Had the pilot practiced his own suicide and mass murder just weeks before the flight? However, the captain's family and friends insisted he was a loving, happy man without mental distress. Another chilling theory focused on 2 Iranian passengers who had boarded using stolen European passports. Interpol investigated whether international terrorists had hijacked the plane to use as a flying weapon. However, background checks revealed the men were simply asylum seekers trying to migrate to Europe. A more sinister conspiracy claimed the airplane was carrying a secret, highly valuable cargo payload. Some investigators theorized the lithium batteries caught fire, filling the airplane with deadly toxic smoke. In this scenario, the pilots turned back toward Malaysia before being overcome by carbon monoxide. Yet a fire would have destroyed the airplane within minutes, not allowed 6 hours of flying. Every single theory faced impossible contradictions, leaving investigators trapped in a maze of unanswered questions. Then in July 2015, a beach cleaner on Reunion Island found something incredible. Washed up on the rocky shore was a 6-foot-long airplane wing component called a flaperon. This was the very first undeniable physical proof that the Boeing airliner had crashed into the ocean. Independent investigator Blaine Gibson personally traveled across remote African beaches, recovering numerous crucial wing fragments. Forensic examination of the wing flap damage revealed a truly terrifying critical piece of evidence. If pilots were attempting an emergency ocean landing, they would have extended the flaps for buoyancy. A retracted flap proved no controlled ditching was attempted. The plane plunged downward at high speed. The debris confirmed the disaster was real, but the main wreckage remained hidden in deep darkness. In 2018, private exploration company Ocean Infinity conducted a second massive underwater search. Using 8 autonomous underwater drones, they searched 40,000 square miles in just 90 days. Yet even with cutting-edge robotics, the ocean refused to surrender the lost Boeing airliner. New scientific proposals suggest using underwater sound waves from hydrophones to pinpoint the exact crash coordinate. They live with the unbearable grief of not knowing why their loved ones were taken away. Was MH370 the victim of a brilliant rogue pilot executing a premeditated final act? Aviation engineers have since mandated continuous minute-by-minute satellite tracking for all international commercial flights. Yet for flight MH370, the night sky simply opened up and swallowed it whole. It stands forever as the most haunting, unbreakable enigma in the entire history of human flight.